Okay.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Breathe and Air podcast, where everyday action meets extraordinary mindset. Today we have, coming from the great state or country or whatever you want to call it of Texas, Austin Upchurch and gang coming in, and we're going to have some fun today. We have all band members present. So we're just going to go down the line and introduce everybody. Austin, we can start with you, brother.
Okay. Hold up. Let me ignore this phone call real fast. Sorry about that. So rude. My name is Austin Upchurch, and I'm a small town dreamer from Godly, Texas. And I sing and play guitar and write some of the songs. Next.
All right.
Don't be shy, guys.
Okay, I'll go. No one speak up. My name's Will. I play bass. Met Austin a couple years ago. And, play bass, sing backup harmonies. I'm from Brownwood, and that's about it.
All right. Who's up next?
What's up? I'm Matt. I got thrown into the mix shortly after Will and Austin hooked up and jammed, and Will and I go way back. We're good buddies, so he called me up and said, let's do it. So I opted in, and I'm also from Brownwood, living here now with my wife.
Beautiful. How long y'all been married?
Only about, I guess, a year and 4 months now, a year and 3 months.
How is the married life?
Oh, man, we love it. It's a blast.
Good.
It is so much fun.
That's all.
It's marriage, There's hard times, but we wouldn't trade it for anything.
Good for you. All right, looks like we got one more.
Reed.
I'm Reed. I play the guitar. I'm from Burleson, Texas. And I think I was the last one to join the band. And I guess I was there. We started about 2 years ago, and Austin was looking for a guitar player. He had everyone else, and initially it was kind of meant to be a temporary thing, but we all meshed together really well. It all just kind of fell in. So I asked if I could roll with the guys full time, and haven't looked back since.
There you go. So we were talking a little bit pre-show, and y'all are kind of scattered a little bit around Texas. So how has that been? And I mean, you kind of gave a little bit of how everyone met, but you guys can kind of bounce off each other here. How has that been, making that work and making sure y'all are staying on top of things, practicing, and then balancing regular life along with that?
Well, I think it's really not too bad because we all do really well with, practicing. I think we can all say that. I know Reed practices a lot. We send videos to each other nonstop.
Right.
Same thing with Will. We're always in constant contact talking, and we're generally pretty good, like I said before, about getting together at least once a week. So I think it's not too bad. What about you guys?
We make it work well.
I agree.
At first, man, it was a grind, especially for me personally, because I was traveling a couple hours, and our practices were really long at the time. And, we would have, especially before our first show, we would have 2 or 3 practices a week because we were trying to make sure we were ready, because you don't want to suck your first show. So I was having multiple nights where I would stay out and I wouldn't get home till 3 a.m. Then I had to go to work all day and then go do it again, but I mean, I think we're all committed to the value we see in the band. And so if we need to be there, we're going to be there. You know what I mean? And that sometimes means just being extra cautious and planning ahead. And you just have to be a little bit more organized. You can't just be like, hey, let's practice tonight. You got to give us all some time. And we mentioned earlier, Matt is in the same town as me now too. So it makes it a little easier to have someone to travel with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a common theme, whether it's music or, for me doing the show, or anybody that's having something that they're passionate about, that they're wanting to be able to do full time. it's a passion. That's something you got to make some sacrifices for. But at the time you're doing it, it doesn't really feel like you're making a sacrifice because it's something that you're passionate about and that you believe in. And I'm sure that y'all have that same feeling when it comes to the band.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your musical backgrounds. Like, how did you even get into music? What sparked the interest?
I'm going to let somebody else go first this time because I'm feeling bad because I'm always answering first. So let's start with Matt because Matt's quiet, but I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, so I grew up in a pretty musical household. For the most part, my dad plays just about any stringed instrument he can pick up. He plays and sings, and my mom plays piano. My sister sings. But I didn't really get into, I guess I started playing drums 6th grade, and then did some middle school drumline stuff, kind of fell off doing actual trap set type playing. And then when I hit middle school, I started playing drums for church in the youth group and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where I got started. Played for a couple years, then actually picked up the guitar and sang a little bit more. Kind of stopped playing drums for quite a few years. And then when I went off to college, I picked it back up, started playing again. And then shortly, I guess, towards the end of my college career is when Austin reached out to us. And now I'm playing nonstop, obviously. But yeah, that's kind of how I came to be. It was definitely a family thing growing up, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, my experience was the opposite. Mine, like nobody in my family is musical. I'm the only one. And it's funny, my parents bought my brothers piano lessons when they were really young. And I would always, go and play the piano. My parents would tell me, stop playing the piano. It's too loud. It doesn't sound good. And they got rid of the piano because my dad got annoyed with it. But my parents wouldn't get me piano lessons because they said, we wasted money on your brothers. We're not doing it for you. And then I got a guitar eventually and just never stopped playing it when I was about 10, and then just grew from there. And now I'm in school for music because it's what my parents always tried to get me to play sports, and I was like a horrible athlete. So I convinced them to not make me play sports anymore and let me do what I wanted to do, and started playing music instead.
That's awesome. So what you said you're going to school for it, but what are you exactly studying?
Guitar performance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm at Stephen F. Austin out in Nacogdoches right now, and I'm transferring. The plan is to transfer to UNT over the summer. So next year I'll be, or next academic year I'll be in the fall. I'll be going to school in Denton rather than Deep East Texas.
So what does that kind of day-to-day look like? Like, what kind of classes do they have you doing? Like, what's your homework? Like your take-home assignment? Like, play these chords
it's literally practice times a million. And then when you're done practicing, you practice more because it's just not. It's like it's been so weird, instead of doing a lot of like workbook stuff, like homework stuff, it's literally just like, you don't know this music well enough, just be able to commit. And I feel like that's just all I do sometimes is just sit and practice and write. And it's definitely been beneficial having a lot of that stuff drilled in, instead of just doing it on my own time. And I definitely think it's helped a lot of skills overall, because the classes are so different. Some of them are theory based, some of them are ear pitch training, like oral skills, some of them are guitar lessons, straightforward. And as far as guitar, it's a lot of like chordal knowledge and scale knowledge. I can definitely play more chords now than I've ever been able to.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a challenge. Performance degrees are a little tough, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
So one more question here while we're on this. So for someone who plays guitar, I know a lot of people listening probably, I can play, a few chords here or there, whatever. Or someone who's even in the early intermediate stages and may just, for me, I'd play by ear for the most part. Like I can see and learn. And that's how I was when I was younger too with piano. Actually, it's funny you said that. and I didn't even transfer over into guitar until I was probably late high school, but always just had a music for ear and played by ear. So it gets to a point though where it's like, okay, maybe I need to start reading some music. Like I need to be able to read a little bit. Did you find that like accurate, or was it something where like some people just play by ear all the time? Do you see that a lot?
Man, well, like, so my teacher is a man named Mr. Greer, and he always says, first off, there's kind of a running joke, like in our band, I guess, or in a lot of bands, the guitar player is always too loud. And that was a thing that I struggled with in the beginning, was I was always played too loud. And my guitar teacher, he always tells me when we do group guitar stuff, he's always telling me to turn down, like, hey, you got to turn down. And he told me a joke one time that ties into what you said. And he said, if you ever want a guitar player to turn down, just put some sheet music in front of them.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. You have no and like it's I'm not very good at it. Like I'm not very good at sight reading. I'm better at like if you tell me what a chord is, like a A major 7, like I can show you all the different positions to play it. And like the theory part gets really kind of it does get complicated. And I started the same way, just by ear purely. And like I would hear records and songs and just play along to them. And and I think Austin had said he did the same route. A lot of it was YouTube, just started on YouTube. So I played guitar purely my own way, like never having a lesson for probably about 10 years. I've been playing for 13 years now. And I think it would have been about 12 years of playing by myself before I took my first lesson. So it really was kind of like a rude awakening. Like, I did have to kind of slow down and like relearn some things. But I do think, not to sound cocky or anything, but I do think that I was fortunate to like try to pay attention to the techniques and stuff early on. So I didn't struggle too much having to learn like the proper way to play a lot of the stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
I made an effort like early on, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And how can I, so like, I didn't have to correct a ton of stuff to be able to play at like the proper way, the college, university way, whatever, and see, like, that's the cool thing is they don't make me do a lot of classical stuff. I get to focus on a lot of blues and jazz, which is really what I like. And classical stuff, they haven't, that's kind of an optional thing, so, and I'm not really, it's cool to learn how to read music, but classical is just a whole nother thing. But
yeah, for sure. Austin, what about you, man?
Man, I grew up in a household where I had a stepdad for a while that played guitar. He had no idea how to play it, but he could play anything, and I thought it was super cool. And then a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened, and he was not around anymore. And then I was in band, because if I was in band until my junior year of high school, we got to go to Italy. And my mom wanted to go to Italy, so I was in band.
Hey.
I played a whole bunch of instruments, and then they finally put me in the drum line. I played in drum line, and then when I got out of high school, I obviously didn't want to do that because I'm a like OG punk rocker, like weird person,
Yeah. We get that too.
Oh yeah. So when I went to college, me and my roommate, his mom had a guitar, and my current stepdad at the time, my still stepdad, his name's Heath, he had a guitar that he never did anything with. And I was just like, hey man, can I take that to college? And he's like, if you can sing me a song by the day you leave, you can have it. And I was like, bet, dude. So I sat down on YouTube and learned the easiest song I could find, literally typed in the easiest song to play on guitar. A guy walks into a bar by Tyler Farr. I can literally tell you how to play it to this day. And I played it horribly bad. And he was like, all right, man, you can have it. And so when we got there, I said, Blake, I'm going to learn a chord on YouTube every day, and I'm going to teach it to you, and we're going to learn how to play guitar together. And he was like, right on, man. And so we did that until we got out of the dorms, and then he left and went to another school, and I stayed just kind of playing in my room. My buddy Ben caught me singing one day, and you would have thought I was doing something way worse. I like threw the guitar across the room. I was so embarrassed. It's like, please don't ever say anything to anyone about this moment, like right here. And he just looked at me and said, "Hey man, that like actually didn't suck. Sing something else." And I was like, "All right," and I tried to play another song, and the rest is just kind of history. I started playing it like parties in college, and then after that I graduated and couldn't get a job, and big shocker there. So I was just like, man, I bet I can learn songs and play 3-hour shows for $100.
Yeah.
I started doing that, and then I guess people like me just because I'm a nice guy.
Weird thing like our psyche does when, whether we think we're good at singing or whatever art or whatever this weird thing is that we have, that we're like, oh, I love to do this, but we don't want other people to see this gift that we may have.
Oh God, it's so like embarrassing.
Oh, I don't want you to hear me do it.
Yeah.
I don't see what I created that's actually really good. And it just takes that one person, like you said, to be like, man, this is something you might want to, keep trying at. And that's all it takes, is that little hint of confidence to keep going.
Yeah. And the craziest thing is like the thing that really made me like, holy crap, I could probably do that, is I can't even play guitar and sing at this moment in time, So this is probably right about the same time. And I go to this concert with my ex-girlfriend at the time for Thomas Rhett in Abilene, Texas at the Lucky Mule. It's like a 200 capacity room. It's not even open anymore. Real small place.
Yeah.
And it's Thomas Rhett, right? She thought he was cool. He had like 1 or 2 songs I liked, whatever. And we go to the show. I'm like 18. I get blackout drunk, and I'm standing front row, double X's, screaming, "Let me sing a song. Give me the microphone. I got this." And finally, after a while, he's like, "All right, dog, hop up here. See what you got." And I was like, "Oh, crap." And I hopped on the stage, and I didn't know how to play guitar. And he was like, "Here." I was like, "I can't play that thing, man." And he goes, "Well, what's a song you want to sing?" And I was like, "I know one of your songs, man." And he's like, "What song is it?" And I was like, "It's called Star of the Show." And at the time it hadn't been recorded. All you could find was him playing it on acoustic guitar on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he covered the microphone and said, how the hell do you know that song?" And I was like, "I found it on YouTube." And he played it, and I sang it. And afterwards I was walking to her Prius, and his bus was parked right there. And I went and knocked on the door and was quickly told by a security guard that you can't do that. And then lo and behold, I'm a nice guy. He started talking to me. He was from Brownwood. I was going to college in Brownwood. He was feeling nice. Walked on the bus. Thomas Rhett and his wife came out. And he was like, "Dude, what's your band called?" And I was like, "I don't have one." And he was like, "Well, you didn't suck. Like, you should probably look into that." And
man, that's the only cosign you need. If you didn't need anything at that point, it's like, all right, well, now
I have pictures to prove it. This happened. It's a real story.
That's crazy. All right, Willie, the gray screen Willie. For those of you,
best for last.
We have extreme audio. Willie is up. He's got the best audio that y'all are gonna hear. But
Will, you should be using a soundboard right now.
I got no webcam. Sorry. No. Music for me started a lot like Matt. I grew up in a really, not really musical, but my dad, I grew up watching my dad play upright bass in a bluegrass band with my uncles and my grandfather, and all the family would come to town. Like my extended family would come to town. We'd all hang out at my grandparents' house, and they would just play bluegrass music for hours on end. And that's from like the time. My earliest memories are that, hanging out with my cousins, listening to old gospel music on a guitar and a banjo, and just hanging around singing. And so I naturally I wanted to learn guitar a little bit, and I did. I learned like 3 or 4 chords, and I kind of messed around a little bit growing up, a little bit before middle school time, like 5th grade, whatever. And then I kind of put it down, and I joined band in middle school, and I learned a lot, like a lot of beginner theory, and I played saxophone and stuff, and I learned to understand music and what makes a chord and how notes work together and stuff to make something sound cool. And I was running sound for the youth group that I went to. And one Wednesday night when I was like a sophomore in high school, the bass player didn't show up. And so I walked up and I was like, hey, man, y'all, no bass player tonight? And one of the guys who's actually still at that church, who I see weekly still to this day, he was leading worship. He was in college at the time. And he was like, no, I guess not. And so I started kind of looking at the music, and it was real simple. It wasn't music. It's just chord sheets, right? Like it just has a letter above words. And so I was like, so right here, when you're singing this, you're just playing a G, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, and a bass just plays just the note, right? He's like, yeah. So, and the bass was just sitting there, the church's bass. And I was like, well, what are the strings on here? Are they the same as the low 4 strings on a guitar? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, so this? And he was like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, oh, that's kind of easy. and I rehearsed and played and never looked back, and kind of just loved it. And I wish I had recording or something of that night, because I'm sure it was really bad. But I really enjoyed it, and just kind of started playing weekly. And then Matt got older, because me and Matt went to church together, just a couple grades below me. But he got older, and then we needed someone to lead worship, and no one could do it. And so a couple friends and me and Matt made the first like student-led band at the church, and we started playing together. And so that was the first time I had to like really be not just a person that showed up, but really be a contributing factor in a band. And just that must have been 2009 or 10 when I first started playing bass. And kind of would just, after that first night, I took the bass home, and my dad had a practice amp at home, and I would just sit in my room for hours on end learning Kings of Leon songs.
Kings of Leon. That's all. I feel like there always is that one moment where you start getting into music at some point, and it's like, dang, this is kind of cool. Like,
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. But I feel like it's a different level when you start saying, all right, now here's a group of guys that we mesh well enough to where we think we can be a band and start making an impact. And y'all have made an impact on the scene early on. So what was that ride kind of like? And also, I kind of want to talk about the Texas country music scene, red dirt scene, whatever you want to call it. We were talking about Pat Green earlier. I mean, you have guys like Pat Green and Charlie Robinson, rest in peace, and like all these guys that have kind of pioneered what red dirt music is. But now you're seeing sort of this, I want to say, mesh of different genres that are coming in that are making up the red dirt scene today. You know, you have guys like Coe and all these guys who are kind of, we had Pecos on, and we had Treaty Oak Revival came on too. And you just hear these stories of how there are so many different influences that are now you're hearing in this scene. And with y'all, I definitely hear that. You said earlier that punk rock, kind of Green Day-ish, kind of alternative rock sound. And especially off the new album Breakdown that just came out this year, one song specifically stuck out, and that was Rain Coming Down, right? So I heard this like alternative. I'm listening to the song, I'm like, okay, I'm hearing some alternative vibes. So tell me a little bit about your sound in general. Y'all can bounce off of each other, but some influences in the sound of what y'all claim.
I am so excited that you asked this, and Reed is finally here. So we tell everyone, it is a commonly known thing that I did not write that song. Reed, young Reed Barton, Reed a kiss here, dragon himself, show the tattoo, wrote that song.
maybe later if I get drunk enough.
We were going into the studio, and like we had our record right, and I was 1 or 2 songs short, and I was tripping out about it. I'm trying to force these half-ass songs. And Reed and everyone's kind of like, man, you've done that before, not that one. And I'm like, I know, but I don't have anything else. And Reed, out of left field, goes, "Hey, man, I have this song that I really think you would think is cool. You want to hear it?" And I was like, "Yeah, right on." And he sang it, Rain Coming Down. And right when he ended, I was like, "Reed, that is a very nice song. And I would love one day if we could just jam that at a band practice." But in my mind, I'm saying, "Reed, let me sing this song right now. We're going to put it on the record." And he was just like, "Dude, I think that'd be really cool, we could just do something with it." And I was like, "We can record it tomorrow if you want to." And he was like, "Dude, honestly, that would be dope. I really kind of wrote this song with you in mind, like something that I think you would think is cool. So I think that'd be tight." And I was like, "Sweet, we're recording it tomorrow." So we just kind of slapped it on the record because it was just really cool right at the perfect time. So, Reed Barton, what was going through your mind when you wrote the song?
Well, the line, roses are red, violets are blue, and never even can I cuss on here?
Yeah, go for it.
I never even gave a shit about you. It's kind of, it's just the whole song's just kind of a, one of those thrown up in the air. It's I don't know. It was just, I think one day I was on, like the line Rain Coming Down. I was just chilling on my porch one day and it was raining and, yeah, the line just popped in my head and I wrote it down, and rain is coming down. So some other things were going on too,
I like to think that maybe, Reed, you had worked yourself up again, like that time in Austin's van.
Yeah,
you were just coming down. You were coming down a little bit, and you're like, what? F you, I'm out.
I have to do that a lot. Because I do that a lot. That's a thing where I kind of get in my own head and get myself all worked up over.
You know what I'm talking about, Austin? That story.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just kind of all the words just came together. They just kind of meshed together really well. And the melody, I was just playing around with some stuff on my guitar. It's just every now and then, you get the right words and the right melody at the right time, and you start humming it, and it's real catchy, and it all just kind of came together. And I don't want to say it was like a bad breakup, but I was going through a thing with a girl at the time, and I was feeling kind of spiteful. So that's I'm not always the best communicator, so I have to put things in a song sometimes. That's what works best for me. So
it's a weird thing that I don't think everybody has this, but certain, people who gravitate towards this kind of artistry, I think whenever there's so much of those emotions and feelings and whatever emotion at a time, spite for you, sometimes sadness or excited or whatever that is, a lot of it can just fly out into a song or into lyrics, or anyone who loves to write or has written knows that feeling.
For sure. And sometimes, and Austin can definitely attest to this, sometimes you work on something for weeks, you work on you'll play the same guitar riff and sing the same line for like a week or 2 weeks. And then sometimes it comes really quick, like Rain Coming Down. I think I had that. Besides writing the line down, Rain Coming Down, the rest of it came within about 2 days. And it just like maybe like a day, like it came together really quick. And I just made like a quick little video of it and sent it to Austin, but yeah, it is kind of funny how sometimes, the songs that you feel the strongest about and the most confident in, they just come together really, really quick sometimes. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes a while, but that one came together pretty quick.
That gets down to something that I wanted to talk about as far as y'all's creative process when it comes to writing a song and then, having melodies or writing guitar riffs or however that process works for you. How does that work for y'all so far in writing songs and making music together?
Okay, so the way that it normally goes is me and Reed right here. Sorry, I hope that Reed is underneath me in y'all's screen.
Not.
Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna quit.
I was wondering what you were doing this for earlier. I was like,
you're right underneath.
I was like, is he pointing at his knee?
Jason's over here, and then Will's way down there. So now I'm going to quit with my hand motions. Okay. But so me and Reed generally start the ideas. Like I'll start something just with some stupid chords or something. And I'll start just playing guitar, and then I say random words until I find a pattern of words that sounds cool, and then I just kind of find an idea that goes. And then I send that idea to Reed, and he either goes, "That's stupid," or "Hey, that actually sounds kind of cool."
I've said that before.
And or it can happen vice versa, where Reed does that, and then he sends it to me, and I say, "Hey, that's stupid," or "Hey, that's really cool," And then from there, we, like kids on Christmas, keep it in, and then we go to a band practice where we have Will and Matt at our disposal. And then we just kind of say, hey, man, this is kind of what we have. And at this point, it's really cool to watch because a lot of the times, that's sometimes Matt and Will's first times to really, like, hear them, I guess. Because, we don't live together, so we're not always around getting a jam.
Right.
So we get to hear it, and just, like, me and Reed sometimes will be jamming on them for weeks. So when we finally sit down with everyone, we're kind of like, okay. But to see Will and Matt at that point, like, really come in with fresh ears and just take it over, like, dude, oh my gosh, you do this here. That would be so cool. Or I'm going to do this or redo that. They kind of really bring the whole shape of everything into there.
I feel like Will and Matt are like the most naturally talented ones in the band. Sorry, Austin. That's just how I feel.
I'm happy you brought this up because I meant to say this. It is important that you know that when it comes to everything, Matt is the most talented person in the band. He sings, plays everything, and he sings better than I do.
He really is.
He's phenomenal.
Well,
And his
thank
wife,
you.
Gabby, is hiding somewhere, and she's freaking
She's
stupid.
better than me.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna leave this band and just like play something in the background. We're just gonna call it the Gabby Pickard Band.
Gabby's singing will give you goosebumps. We went to her recital that time. It's ridiculous.
So everyone is more talented than me. People like me because I'm a nice guy, and so they want to like my music and be my friend. So these guys wanted to be in my band. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It seems like everyone that I talk to, as far as band cohesion, it's something like you said, where there's so many different minds and ears that you get fresh new ideas for something that you may be stuck on, like you're stuck on this verse or stuck on the chorus, or how two parts work together, and then a new ear comes in and it's like, oh, that's easy, here's the solution. And I feel like that's when you have a good group of guys or girls or whatever it may be, that it's like, okay, this is a group of people who have different ears but all work together.
Now, I think, especially in this point, Will and Matt, y'all need to vocalize here a little bit, because y'all are like really kind of one of the parts of the actual like piecing together of the songs that, people talk to me and Reed all the time, but y'all kind of work in silence there. I'm very curious to hear what y'all have to say about that.
Matt can go first.
Yeah, it works really well, like Austin said. And Will and I have talked about this before, but we're just not lyric guys. I am absolutely terrible at writing lyrics.
Yeah.
There was a few months there in college when I would sit down a few times a week and just focus on writing lyrics. And I have no notes to show for that because I just couldn't find it. It was not there. But as far kind of the musical aspect of it, the chords and like the dynamics and stuff, I'm better at that than I am at lyrics. And so I think Will and I are kind of, we relate in that way. And then obviously Reed and Austin, like he was saying, they bring in super heavy talent on the lyrics. Whereas personally, I don't contribute to that. So I think it works awesome.
Perfect.
And it's cool because getting to come into a rehearsal where they maybe have kind of played with it for weeks, and they've written lyrics, and they even, they have the whole song done, and in their mind they have kind of where they want some stops to be, and kind of the groove that they want this verse to sound like. They come in with kind of these preconceived ideas, and most of the time they work awesome. And so it's really cool to even be on my side of it and put I feel like they do all the hard work, and I feel like they just bring it to me as the drummer, and I'm like, oh, I can do what you think it's going to sound like. So how's this? And so I feel like they just bring a 80% done painting, and Will and I, or at least I feel like we do the other 20%.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more than that.
I feel like
Just
it's the
'cause I
opposite because
I
all
feel like the
like
lyrics are the hardest part, but that's just my opinion.
I feel like it's the opposite.
Everyone plays to their strengths, and that's a good thing.
Exactly.
Sign.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's really great too because like low key young William down there being all quiet. I hit him up all the time just because even people that don't think that they're songwriters can have a great idea, you know. So I'll be like, Will, he'll show up at my house early before we have to leave to go somewhere, and I'll just pull out the acoustic guitar and I'm like, you're gonna help me write a song right now, and he's like, no, and I'm like, stop, yes. So like they get to be a part of a lot of it, and they're like, I really feel like that they do more than me and Reed do. Ours is easy. We can just do it at home, and they're kind of, hey, we're here now, do it, be creative right now.
Yeah, we kind of bring the pieces, and then Matt and Will really stick it all together. They're the arrangers of the band.
I agree.
Especially what, Reed?
I was gonna say I think that's a strength that that Matt is really good at is like I feel like I lean on Matt a lot. Well, and both of you guys to like you guys are really good at the arranging part of it, and that's something that I struggle with for sure.
Don't worry, I agree. I lean on Matt too, quite a bit, because he'll fill the groove out with the kick drum or whatever, and I'll kind of have an idea of what notes I'm gonna play, but I won't really necessarily know how I'm gonna lay it down yet. And then Matt would be like, "Try this rhythm," and then I do that, and then it also helps that me and Matt, like I said earlier, me and Matt have been playing together since like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
So we're pushing 10 years of playing a lot of music together, especially when so much of that music, a good chunk of the music we've played together has been, okay, here's what we're playing. So like we have something to follow, like here's the music. But then the second half of that song, we're just feeling each other. Like, okay, where are we going next? How's this going to go? Because that's how like growing up in church. Get out of here, Austin, with the face. Growing up in church, though.
Waiting for some pause.
So much of the music, it's because I said feeling each other. Yeah. Austin's got a dirty mind over there.
I was thinking
of the music, though. So much of the music is just like a little bit of a vibe type thing. And then Matt would hire me to play bass for him when he was leading. And that especially I had to follow him, And so I think that helps a lot too in our cohesion. And we always have the same or similar ideas when it comes to putting a song together.
Chemistry.
That's
Dude, and like I'm gonna go ahead and tell you a specific instance where all of it, because like Reed said before, when Reed started with us, it was initially very temporary. So I'd met Reed like a few months, maybe a year or so before. We were partying. It was a good time. And he slept under his Jeep.
I did. The first night, not to sidetrack, the first time we met, I slept under my Jeep, and I woke up, and I had a pile of cow shit as a pillow.
Oh, no.
I have a way with people. But anyway.
It was in my mouth.
So at this point, we have this show, and I think it's an acoustic show, and my buddy Cameron is like, dude, I'm super excited to hear your band. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? And he was like, oh, this show, it's a full band show. Like, it's going to be great. And I was like, gotta go by. Now I have like a month and a half to find a band, practice, and play a show. So coincidentally, my buddy Williamson calls me literally later that night. We're talking, and he's like, dude, I met this guy named William, or he called him Hunter. He has a lot of aliases. And, he plays bass, and dude's a badass. Like, if you ever need a bass player, you should hit him up. And I was like, send me his phone number right now. Literally right now. She sends me the phone number. I call Will. I'm in Brownwood the next day. We're having an audition. I have 2 songs out at the time. He's had like a day, maybe 2 of practice. I get there. He plays the songs better than I do. I can barely get through them, And I'm like, you're perfect. You're hired. And he's like, what else do we need? And I was like, everything. And he goes, my best friend, Matt, dude, like killer drummer. I'm like, call him right now. We get together. We jam. It goes great. You're hired. What else do we need now? Guitar player. I look for weeks. Can't find a guitar player. And then I'm like, my friend Reed can play a hell of a guitar. I'm just going to call him and see if he can, help us out. Just get through it until we can find somebody. So I call Reed, and Reed's like, hell yeah, man. I don't have a show that day. He had his own band at the time. Like, I'd love to just kind of fake it till you make it. He got in the room with us 1 or 2 times before the show and literally just freestyled pretty much over everything because we didn't have any original material other than 2 songs, and he just kind of got a feel for it. We played the show. It was great. Everybody loved it. There was one instance where like the chemistry is incredible because it's like our first or second show. There's a whole bunch of people there. It's like Larry Joe Taylor, Daryl Dodd, all these guys are just there. We're playing in Fort Worth. Obviously, for me, I'm super nervous. I've been a huge Daryl Dodd fan my entire life. First time I met Reed was at Larry Joe Taylor, I'm freaking out. Reed's probably excited. I don't know if Will and Matt are super excited because they might not have known all the people at the time, And I'm playing guitar, and I broke like 3 or 4 strings. Completely unaware. I'm poor. It's like our first, second show. I don't have an extra guitar. I don't have extra strings. I'm like, oh my gosh. We're playing a Tom Petty song. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And Will and Matt are just right there, unbothered. Because like they said, in church, it's just kind of feeling it out after a while. So they're just locked in right there. And Reed, being as good as he is at playing guitar and just feeling your way through stuff and making it work, they crushed it. After the show, I went over and talked to Larry, and he was like, let me tell you, son, if you would have just been calm, no one would have known that anything was going wrong. Like, your band guys covered it. It was great.
Yeah.
Even from the very, very like the drop of the hat of our band, we've always just kind of had that, like there's times I forget what I'm doing and I'll be completely lost in a song and I'll turn around and look at Matt. Matt's my anchor. He has the hardest job in this band because he has to randomly tell me what words to sing all the time. I'll turn around and I'm like, and he's like, dude, it's January Rain. It's our oldest song. And I'm like, Street Lights and Pine Trees. Oh, okay. Like, so it's, they are so good at being like consistent and always aware and feeling stuff out. For me, it's really nice because I have a safety blanket. When I mess up, and it's always inevitable, I'm going to every time.
Yeah.
It's always covered, and I don't have to worry about it. So it's really nice. Yeah.
That's really important. And I feel like anyone listening, even when it comes to music, when it comes to life, when it comes to whatever you're doing, you got to have that group that, can do that for you, that you can bounce ideas off of, that can pick you up when you're down. Those kind of people are the people you got to surround yourself with in order to be successful. And especially when you're in a band and certain things like that do go wrong. And just like on a day-to-day basis, things do go wrong. When you have those people in your corner, it's important. You mentioned LJT Fest, and we have some fan questions. I love to do fan cues, right? So what I'm going to do is just say a couple of things, right? We got a few things to go over, but I'm going to say this. Y'all can bounce off each other here, but tell me what comes to mind when I say Larry Joe Taylor Festival.
Okay, before we start answering, can I get a rating of the answers I can give? Is this like a PG-13 thing? Is this rated R? Is this like a G?
Whatever comes to mind, Larry Joe Taylor Fest, go.
Can I embarrass you, Reed?
Sure. Do it.
Reed dropped an entire Altoid tin of left-handed cigarettes like the second day he was there. That is the thing that is just drilled in my mind.
Yeah, that was that was unfortunate.
I rolled all these left-handed cigarettes, and I'm so excited about it. And then he lost it.
What a nice way to put that.
Yeah,
Left-handed cigarettes. I've heard a lot of things out of your mouth, Austin. I've never heard that.
That was very PG-13.
I
Good
like
job, buddy.
First thing that comes to mind, Larry Joe Taylor Fest. Boobies.
Oh my
God.
that's true. That's a close second.
I'm sorry. You said be honest. No. It's honestly just fun. Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind is just fun, because you don't have to get like crazy to have fun. But yeah, it's just it's a fun time.
All right, I got a quick second for you. Long in the tooth, because the fan here says I had to look up on Google what long in the tooth means. So ask him about this song and how the idea came about for the title and the song itself.
Okay, so I am a huge Grady Spencer fan.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Grady Spencer has a line in a song where he says, long in the tooth. And I, much like this person that just asked, was like, what the hell does that mean? Went and Googled it and was like, that's a really cool term. I want to write a song that says long in tooth. Or even if it's just titled long in tooth.
Yeah.
And then I was at this point where I was just like, I didn't want to be a musician anymore. I wasn't having a lot of fun. I was partying a lot, lots of booze. It's not a good time. Stay away from that, kids. And I just wasn't having fun. And I was like, I'm just going to quit, because I feel like if I quit, I'll cut out all my bad habits and you won't catch me like a washed up old guy who lost everything just because he wanted to be a musician so bad. And I wrote it out, and then we put it on the record. And I was like, if anything, and this is our only record, people know. And I put it out, and after a while, like, everything really changed. That was right before we really started playing with the band, you know? So then when we got all the guys, and it goes from like a single person, everything's on me all the time, to it's more of a family. We have everyone to kind of carry everything. It makes it a lot better, and it's a lot more fun in a family atmosphere. So I don't feel like that anymore now, but it was really cool. So yeah, long in the tooth.
So for those listening, long in the tooth, and correct me if I'm wrong here, right? It's when a horse is, you look at the horse's mouth, right? And the length of the tooth determines age, correct?
Yeah.
How long they've been alive, right? So is that correct?
Yeah, saying you're not going to find me old and washed up.
Yeah, old and washed up. There it is. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so last question for you guys, and this is something that I love to ask everybody, and we have a wide variety of people on the show, and we can answer this individually. You can say as an individual or as a band, what is your definition of success?
Individual answer. Someone else started. I'll go last.
I'll go first.
He needs some time to think.
So success, I'm assuming you mean like in music, in this industry?
Or in life in general.
Okay.
We'll go with either, yeah.
Okay. Well,
just what comes to your mind when you think of success?
Well, for me right now, it does involve music, and it would be if I could get to the point, or like where we as a band could get to the point where all I do is play music. If I can completely support myself fully and maybe eventually support a family off of music, then I would call that a success.
Absolutely. I'd agree.
I do think as a band, we have been successful so far. And if we stopped right now, I would call what we did a success, but I wouldn't call where we're at the finish line, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Matt?
Yeah. I would agree. I think that's a huge milestone, is obviously getting to the point where you don't need another source of income or whatever that may look like for you to live your life and do music, as part of it. Because I think a lot of people look at success and they think of Willie Nelson, and they think of like, the John Mayer level of music people. But in my mind, like, that would be amazing if we got to that. But in my mind, I would be so content with way below that, like just getting to the point where we can enjoy each other's company as we're doing music and doing the thing that we love to do, all of us together. And to me, it's, I don't know, it's obviously reaching a certain point, being able to, I guess, rely on that to support yourself. But at the same time, for me, it's, man, getting to play the drums,
Yeah.
even one time in a weekend right now is an absolute blast. But getting to play the drums every night of the week, going on tour with the guys and enjoying their company, like,
Yeah.
for me, that's what success would be. I just think it would be just such a blast to get to do that,
We'll switch it over for the last two. We'll make it hard on y'all. What's your individual idea of success? Let's take music out of this. What's individually success to you guys?
Austin, did you want to go last or do you want to go next?
And I got my fire answer ready to go.
All right, let's hear it.
Dude, are y'all ready for this? Reed, I'm going to drop the mic so hard, you're not even going to be able to pick it up right now. Okay. So my definition of success is pretty much the same, like, individually and in music. So, dude, I grew up in very different, like, classes. I've been super rich, I've been super poor, in between, all that. So, like, I don't really care about having nice things and money and all that stuff. My thing comes from more of what I get from music, and that is, like, my personal message that I get from things. I like punk rock music because a lot of those people have bad anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And I have that. So my whole thing is when I hear that music and stuff like that, it makes me feel better. When I'm around people, even if I'm not playing music, like, I like to think I'm pretty aware. If someone's not having a good time and someone has something going on, okay, let's do something and pep you up. Like, I always want to be someone or do something that impacts people positively, I guess. I like watching people grow, and I like helping people grow and stuff like that. So my whole thing is if I can just have, when my day comes, people, actually come out and say, that dude rocked. Like, he was a good person. He did things for all of us. He was a good dude. And he impacted me positively. He changed my life and did things. His songs, like, I connected with them. They made me feel better in a time where no one could and stuff like that. So that would be my definition of success, is just, like, impacting everyone that you can positively. Being there, I guess.
Great answer. Great answer.
Oh, what's up, Reed?
All right, Reed. You got the heat on you.
And I think it's this is such a subjective thing.
Sure.
For me, really, at the end of the day, what I would define as success is, am I happy? Am I happy with what I'm doing? And it's kind of in a selfish sense, is like, am I content with this? Am I, because for me, music is a very personal thing. When I write a song, I usually try to have something to say. And, I had, and, not to go against the grain too much. When I think of success, I do try to think of, like, success. Like, if someone else is setting up my equipment for me on the stage,
yeah, and you get to just walk up.
I'm successful. But really, really, none of that would even matter if I'm not happy doing it. And I don't mean to go too deep off, but before I joined up with the band, I was doing my own acoustic shows, and I had my own band for a little while and some stuff. And man, I'm going to be real honest, the most money that I've made as a musician was playing acoustic shows in restaurants and getting tips and playing for 3-4 hour sets, or multiple sets of 3 and 4 hours, whatever. That was when I was making the more money, but I hated it. I was not happy being background noise. I was not happy doing that, and I was really burning out, and it was making me even though like I could book these shows on the weekend and make this money and like actually be able to pay my bills with it, I hated it. I hated just doing that and doing it all by myself. So when I had the opportunity to join up with the band, it was like, okay, I understand that it's a little more of a team effort and it's not going to just be about me anymore, but that's like the whole point. It was like I wanted some other people to lean on and to hold me accountable for things so I could grow.
Yeah.
So really at the end of the day, it's, music is a very universal language. You can sing a song and if it, or play a song, and if it, people dance, people have good times, people this and that. You can make someone cry, you can make somebody, laugh, you can make somebody have the best night of their life almost just off of one song. You can give somebody goosebumps. So it's really music is a really powerful thing, and it's kind of my whole life, really. Like I do a lot of other things, like hobbies and whatnot, but music isn't a hobby. It's like the thing for me. So it's just it's successful is like, I don't exactly know what I will consider successful in 10 or 15 years or 20, 30, 40 years, because I could be, I've played in front of crowds, like we've played in front of huge crowds, and then I've literally spent spent some time busking out on the street. Like in Nashville, I set up a guitar case and played some songs on the street on Broadway, and in the span of like 30 minutes I got like $8, so like some beer money, but it was so fun, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. And so like it's really just being happy, I think, is the thing, is being content. That's my idea of success, for sure. And it's not just being happy, but like being content with what you're doing, being at peace with what you're doing.
Yeah, that's so important. I feel like oftentimes we know what's going to make us content and happy and what is our passion, but it's harder to take that jump and take that leap. So I applaud y'all for actually taking the leap in the first place, because for anyone listening, it's so hard to take that leap at the beginning. It's hard to make those sacrifices, drive a couple hours to get, a few hours of practice in. But when you do, and you do it with passion, people realize it and they recognize it. So hats off to y'all. And it's been an honor to have you guys on the show. Where can everybody find you and find your music? Obviously, I'm going to tell them in the pre-notes as well, but where can everybody find you guys on social media and listen to y'all's music?
Everywhere. We are on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, Pandora, Amazon, Google Play.
There's a lot of them these days.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. A lot of the stuff, I don't even know what it is. I don't have any accounts, but we're also on all the social medias except for TikTok. I just can't do it.
See, I teeter, Todd. I'm like, yes or no.
Dude, let me just tell you, the only social media that I like personally that you will always get me 100% is Twitter. Everything else
Best.
is Willie H, the gray screen god. That is him.
Willie the gray screen god.
Yeah. So yeah, he didn't mention it, but Instagram and Facebook, it's Austin Upchurch Music.
Yes.
And our website is austinupchurchmusic.com. And then the only difference is Twitter is Austin Upchurch with an underscore. That's how you can find us everywhere.
Beautiful.
Follow me on Twitter. I tweet a lot of punk rock lyrics, specifically the story so far, and or the main.
Well, thank you all so much for coming on. It's been an honor, and looking forward to seeing your progress in the future. And next time we do one of these, hopefully we're in person. We're sitting down doing this in person. So,
dude, hell yes. Hopefully we can get out in your neck of the woods soon.
yeah.
We talked to some of the homies bands about coming out there, but it hasn't played out yet, but hopefully it does soon.
Yeah. And let me know on any of that too. Anything I can do out here on my end too. I know it's weird times, but Rev Room and there's a few other places that love to house some good Red Dirt music. So let me know, man, and we'll get it going.
Right on, brother. Well, it was very nice to meet you.
Yeah, Absolutely.
And hopefully we can do this soon. And hopefully, like you said, we're in person and we can drink some whiskey.
Hey, cheers to that. So everybody that's listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you are listening there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment and a rating. If you enjoyed today's episode, I ask one thing: share it. Share it with your friends, anybody that you think would enjoy the band's music, anybody that you think would enjoy the conversation. Share it. We try and have authentic conversations here, real conversations. So if you all enjoyed today, share it with a friend. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Breathe and Air podcast. We'll catch y'all later.